Good morning, afternoon, evening, night, midnight, early morning, midday, wherever you may be and whatever you may be doing. If you are cruising the highway, sitting at home, sitting in a cubicle, hauling tens of thousands of tons of freight across the United States, driving a tiny tuk-tuk or a jeepney in the streets of Manila or across the countryside of Cebu, shredding the gnarly curves up on the Blue Ridge Parkway, we welcome you back to the garage. That was a special shout out today to our very small but mighty viewership in the Philippines. I've been checking the algorithm, and the YouTube actually has a fair amount of viewers out in the Philippines, which I can only assume is attributed to my wife's influence powers amongst her people back in her home country. So, welcome back. We have a few housekeeping items to take care of. And by housekeeping, I do literally mean talking about the Powerhouse edition of the Power Horse podcast. In addition, I have recorded and re-recorded this episode like 4 times now, just because there was a slightly controversial topic at the beginning of the podcast that I wanted to cover, and it wound up dominating the majority of the episode. And that's not what we're trying to do here. It takes a second sometimes to recenter, do an azimuth check, and remember that the reason that I started this podcast was to not talk about politics, to not get talking about the geopolitical sphere, and to get away from the things that really envelop my day job and my real big boy job. So before we get into it, we're going to talk about some, as I said, housekeeping stuff. Number one, the Power Horse Garage, you're going to hear it here first. The Power Horse Garage is proud to announce the Power Horse Garage fluids and lubricants. We are starting our own line of beer and mead. If you don't know what mead is, it is coined as honey wine, but it is a similar process to making wine, similar fermentation process to making wine / beer, I guess. But instead of using sugar, they use honey, and you could really just get away with 3 simple ingredients: water, honey, and yeast. I have had experience with making it before, and we decided why not bring that experience and see if we can make something out of it and share it, because I've gotten some good feedback on the quote-unquote toilet wine that I've made back in the day in some austere conditions, and we wanted to. We're seeing an untapped market for mead, so we're going to go into it. And I'm definitely quitting my day job and devoting 100% of my time to the Power Horse brand, and we're going to be doing this from now on. So you can definitely go to the website www.powerhorse. This website's not up yet, so don't actually check. Lubricantsandfluids.com. So to talk about the Powerhouse side of things, if you don't live anywhere on the East Coast, I guess it's mainly affecting the East Coast and the Gulf states, we've had a bit of a cold front. It's been very, very cold down here. We're not used to it. In fact, states that have never gotten snow are getting snow. And up on the panhandle of Florida, surprisingly enough, they got snow. And Tampa was bracing for quite a bit. And quite a bit for Florida is like snow, you know. And they were bracing for like, I can't remember, it was like 1/8 of an inch that they were saying. I was like, what? How is that possible? How is that possible? There's no way. I'm not sure if Tampa did get any snow, but I know up on the panhandle, it looked a little spicy up there. And by spicy, I mean chilly. So with that in light, initially, it was actually really funny. We've been taking down a nuisance tree in the backyard, and my old man and I sat down, had a couple beers, and we burned up some of the logs that we had cut down, because there's quite a bit of it from that tree. But this was prior to the cold front really setting in, and I hadn't thought, hey, well, this is probably going to run the shit out of the electric bill. And then I got an email from FPL essentially saying that they were going to price gouge us. It was, in not so many words, saying there's going to be a higher demand. Whenever there's a higher demand, costs go up. So do the math. Terrible to hear. We've got solar panels. Solar panels don't work when there's no sun, and they definitely don't work at nighttime when there's no sun. So we're in a bit of a predicament, and it got very, very cold at night. What else are we to do? I said, initially I went out and I was going to go get heaters, space heaters, propane space heaters, and then I couldn't get a hold of any. And then the next thing I was going to do was go get electric heaters. And the day I went out to go look for them, out of stock everywhere. Not a big deal. Because I have a fireplace. And I have plenty of wood. Now the problem is, when you're outside and you have wet wood, the rule is lots of kindling to dry it out, and just stack more on there until you get a good fire going. And then it doesn't matter how wet or freshly cut the wood is. You just throw on a ton of wood and it's gonna dry out and then burn. If you do that in a fireplace, you're going to produce a lot of smoke. And if you don't, if the house is not already warm, when you open that flue and you don't get some warm air up in that flue, up into the chimney, what can happen is a gust of air across the top of the chimney, especially if you have a cap like I do, is going to blow that cold air pocket down. So this is a PSA. If you're going to go light up your chimney and you live in the southern states and you're not, I don't think that this is a problem up north, because I've lit a fireplace many times up north, and maybe my grandfather used to do this, stuff the paper up in there, but we also had furnaces, and the house was already the air in the house already significantly warmer than the air outside. So when you open up that flue, it just the hot air just rises out. I cannot remember a time, unless the power was out, that my grandfather and my father stuffed newspaper up into the flue. But apparently that's what they were saying to do. I didn't have any newspaper. I don't know anybody that has any newspaper. I tried to shove paper up there, didn't quite work. And then I got to thinking, I'm a car guy. I have a heat gun. So I took a heat gun, put it up into the chimney, cranked it all the way up, sent some forced hot air up in there. That saves the day. But initially, I had a little bit of smoke in the house, and that was not good. Additionally, I had to go out and get, they had some of those Duraflame logs on sale. I picked up like 24 of them. I picked up 3 boxes of them. And for like, I don't know, $100, I got enough Duraflames, enough dried, seasoned cordwood, and I think I picked up like 7 cords of wood, 3 of birch and 4 of I don't even know, whatever was outside Publix, and the 3 boxes of Duraflame. And then I proceeded to burn through that and all of the cut wood that we had outside. And I had a fair amount of large logs, to the point where I was like burning small little bundles of brush, which doesn't last very long. But it got us through 2-3 nights, 2-3 days, and it is now, like, I'm sitting out in the shop now, and it feels fine. So, in fact, I may switch into a t-shirt instead of the sweatshirt that I'm wearing, because the weather's much better now. But that's just a little PSA. If you are thinking about opening up your fireplace, because there was a fire south of where we are, and I have to think that it was probably a chimney fire, make sure your flue is clear. That means if you see cobwebs up in there, just get a shop vac and stick a hose up there. It's really, really simple. Make sure you have a cap. If you don't have a cap, be very, very careful. Go up on the roof and make sure that the top of the chimney is clear. If you don't have a cap, I highly suggest having a cap. We do not have a stone or brick chimney. We have a so I think essentially what we have is I can't remember what they're called, but it is metal. My fireplace is surrounded by stone, but it's aesthetic. It's not actual stone. I'm pretty sure the whole thing is like a stove chimney, I guess. It is definitely metal chimney all the way up. And then surrounded by wood is the very outer aesthetic on the outside. And then the inside, as I said, is stone. So be very, very careful. Don't shy away from it. Get something to get that hot air pocket pushing that cold air pocket out. And then the temperature difference will just suck. I guess temperature inversions is a better word. Will suck all the excess heat and the smoke, more importantly, up and out of the chimney, and then the rest of the residual heat will just radiate throughout the house. The highest temperature we got, I had the fireplace cranking to 74 degrees last night until it died at around like 2 in the morning, and I had to refire it. Like not put more logs on. Like the fire was dead. I had to refire it around 3 a.m. and then it died again by 6. But that thing, it was like 20, 30 degrees outside, and I had the house was cranked up to 74. No furnace, or I guess no central air doing it, just the fireplace. And of course the rest of the house, like it is a bigger house, but the living room area and like the den area and the kitchen, which are all semi-connected, were about 74 degrees, and it was really hot in there. So another tip trick, if you don't know, because I know a lot of Southerners don't know about this, because I've run into several people who go, I go in. I had a roommate at the time, and I was like, do you ever realize our fans are going the wrong way? And he goes, no, fans only go one direction. I'm like, no, they don't. In the wintertime, there's a button on top, and up north you can swap the fans so that they go reverse. And that pulls the air. If you had something like a fireplace, that's going to pull the air up and out and spread it around the room. You don't want your fans to blow down. You want it to pull up because you want to suck the air up. You don't want them to blow down because that would just force air down and out and up out of the chimney. That's like the purpose for those. And so I stood up on a chair and I flipped it, and he watched it spin the other way, and he was like, son of a bitch. So I guess a lot of people don't know about that down here because it generally doesn't get cold enough for you guys to know of that function. But yes, if you have a fireplace, if you have a space heater, and you're not trying to blow out your bill on central heating and central air costs down here in the South, fireplace or space heater. Be safe with a space heater. They're very dangerous, or they can be very dangerous if you propane inside, make sure it's well ventilated, or electric. Keep it away from carpet. Keep it away from blankets. Keep it away from anything flammable. You have something like that, and then flip your fans to reverse, and they will suck heat up and create this kind of vortex where the heat comes up into the ceiling and then radiates down and spreads it throughout the room. So that's going to do it for the Powerhouse edition. I have a quick self-report section. Accountability is important. A couple weeks ago, Avon was on the show. It was during our holiday break. Avon had rung me up and said, hey, he was asking me all kinds of questions about spark plugs. And I was like, hey, just if you don't have the right tool, you don't have the right space, why don't you just bring the car? I was like, I can come to you. He was like, oh, no, I don't want to make you do that. Would you be okay if I come over to your place? I was like, yeah, sure, man. Of course. Like, why? Just, yeah, come on over. Put it in the shop. He'd completely forgotten that I have this big shop here. And he brought it in. He was like, man, I was in the sun dying outside because it was like, I don't fucking know. It was like 80 that day. But he was like in the direct sun, not undercover. So I'm like, yeah, dude, come on in. Enjoy the inside. I got an air conditioner and stuff too. Like this is why I have it. It's not just for me to work on cars, but it's for, friends to come over and work on cars and stuff. And so he came over and pounded out that job. But when we pulled out the spark plugs, I was like, hey, when was the last time you changed these? And he was like, I haven't. And I was like, what? I was like, well, when was the last time you took it to have it changed? He's like, I haven't. I've had the car for X amount of time. He's at 99,000 miles. Never changed spark plugs. And I wrote him about it. I was like, dude, that's super bad. I change the spark plugs in my car very often. The GT behind me is angry because I said that, because she hasn't gotten new plugs in quite a while. But I don't drive the GT as much as I drive my EcoBoost. Do you know what I don't change a whole lot? I hit that in the air filter. I change and clean the air filter a lot. That's like the three things that I do: spark plugs, oil, the can, clean, drain the catch can, and the air filter. And I saw a thing on Instagram the other day, and they were talking about taking the diff cover off and cleaning your diff. And I'm like, I'm not doing that every 40,000 miles. That's insane. And then I'm scrolling through the comments, and people are like, yeah, 30 to 40,000 if you're driving hard to change the fluid at least, but you don't need to clean it. And I'm like, oh, I haven't touched the transmission fluid or the diff fluid. I swapped the diff fluid, and the scariest part about this is I've been hearing a sound, and my first thought as a man of culture and an intellectual, my first thought was, oh, that's probably just like a wheel bearing or something. And I had somebody confirm to me, was like, yeah, it's probably a wheel bearing. Like, these things go out like 40, 50,000 miles. So, and the way I have driven that car, it would be no surprise that wheel bearing is starting to go to fuck town. That sound could very easily be transmission and diff. And so I drained the diff fluid, and it smells burned. It's definitely burned, but there's not a single silver fleck. It's definitely black. It is not the color it should be, for sure. And it smells. It smells, actually a side quest here. It smells like Malort. Shout out to people up in Chicago. They play this terrible game where people not from Chicago or Illinois do a rite of passage. The people from Illinois and Chicago do this rite of passage on people from not Illinois and Chicago. And they give them the local drink and how great it is. It's called Malort, and it's fucking terrible. It's absolutely terrible. That's what burnt diff fluid smells like. It smells like Malort. Or should I say Malort smells like burnt diff fluid. And I bet you it fucking probably tastes like it too. It's not even like, oh, it burns going out. It just tastes like something putrid. Something fucking putrid. It tastes like the way I would imagine piss and diff fluid tastes. So anyways, thank you to the fine people up in Chicago. Anyways, I have been trying to get the transmission fill plug out because, as everyone should know, you always try and take the fill plug off before you do the drain plug. the drain plug will be easier to get off than the fill plug. And that's because our God is a vengeful God. And you will drain your fluids and not be able to refill them because every day we stray further from God's love and mercy by all the bad things we do, like not changing our spark plugs, not changing our oil. The videos of these women putting coolant into the engine, not the radiator, into the engine. God help us. Anyways, you have to take the fill plug off first. Had no problem with the diff, having a big problem with the transmission. And I've watched a video of a guy doing it on YouTube on his S550. And what I believe is an EcoBoost S550 or is a V6 S550. For some fucking reason, there's some kind of heat shielding that's in the way. I don't want to cut it. There's some kind of heat shielding that is in the way of me getting a wrench in there. And I can't, I've bought like 4 different Allen sets here to try and get in there. And I can't, like, I can barely get the like Allen bit on there, let alone get a ratchet behind it. It's crazy. So, and these have to be like torqued down. I have no idea what I'm going to do. So I'm still working on it. It's work in progress. I got so pissed off having to jack the car up, jack the car down, go to O'Reilly's, jack the car up, jack the car down, go to O'Reilly's. I did that like 4 times and I just said, fuck it. I'm just going to let the car sit for a second because I just don't need it right now. I do need the car for the weekend. But that is, that's where the car now sits. This is a PSA to everyone. Clean your diff fluid. Change your diff fluid. Change your transmission fluid. If it comes out silver, if it comes out sparkly or glittery, you're fucked. Luckily, both, I sampled a bit of the transmission fluid, and it doesn't even smell burnt, which is very good. Now that we are done with all of the housekeeping, powerhouse, and some power horse portion of the show, this is the part where I had to re-record it like 3 times because I got very passionate about this and very upset about somebody we've talked about on the show a couple times, and somebody I'm pretty displeased with at the moment. So I was listening to Joe Rogan the other day, and he did have a political guest on. We're not going to talk about political stuff, but he mentioned and he talked about Don Lemon and Don Lemon's little stunt in the church there. We're not going to get into the legality of it. We're not going to get into the politics of it. We're not going to get into anything. We're trying to stick to the 3 things that you don't talk about, okay, at the family reunion, at the dinner table, whatever. Religion, politics, money/sex. Okay, those are the 3 things. Money and sex are interchangeable. But I guess that would make 4, you know. Religion, politics, money/sex. We're not talking about them. But since somebody else wants to talk about those things or wants to reshare stuff, we're going to mention politics. Okay? It was interesting for Joe to say that his observation of some of the mainstream talk show hosts that have gotten canned recently, like Tucker, like Don Lemon, when these guys don't have a script in front of them with like 80 writers writing their words, they try to go out in the real world because they think that they have some kind of following, and they then have to express their own opinions because these people don't have any like real form of employment or skills. They're just actors these are not like journalists like they were in the old days where they're going and doing research and doing investigations. Like, people like that are just mouthpieces. They just talk. Their whole career revolves around speaking off a teleprompter and talking about, saying things that other people have written. And a lot of people have admitted this. And you can really see that some of these people, you know, you can see even when they don't get canned, but they come out, you know, even when they don't come out later. But you can see if you really go watch, I don't know anybody that's watching mainstream media anymore that trusts them other than a certain subset of boomers, and older than the boomers, that watch it and think that that's gospel. You realize that these people, they're just reading off a teleprompter. They're reading opinions curated by other people. And Joe was trying to make the point that Don Lemon's actually an idiot. Like, he says very contradictive and hypocritical things. He says things that like don't really make sense, and he's very disconnected. And I'm talking about Don Lemon because that's what was brought up. Okay, if he had said the same thing about Tucker Carlson or a right-leaning individual, I would make the same assessment. I am not taking sides here. I am using this as an example to say there's somebody else who recently got canned from their position at a media company, Donut, who now expresses his own opinions, who's gone into other media sphere and other podcast sphere and talked about how important the engagement and the clicks and all this shit is. I, of course, am talking about James Pumphrey. James Pumphrey, who has done nothing for the car community, has done nothing for the car culture since leaving Donut. In fact, he has tried to branch off into other things. Just real quick, James, you had a heart attack before you were 40. Actually, I think you had a heart attack before you were 35 because you lived an unhealthy life consuming unhealthy things. Why in the fuck now would I or anyone listen to you as an authoritative source on men's health and fitness? I'm glad you're doing cold plunges. I'm going to listen to Joe Rogan on health and fitness before I listen to you, because Joe trains every day. Joe is very involved with people who train every day. Like, you don't like Joe as a reference? I'll give you another reference. Sean Ryan, Navy SEAL. I'm going to listen to him before I listen to you, because the guy trained at a very high level. Brent Tucker, former Delta Force operator. Going to listen to him before I listen to you. I'll listen to literally anyone who hasn't had a heart attack before they were fucking 40 before I listen to a guy who had a heart attack before he was 40 and has spent his entire life in front of a camera with a microphone in his face talking about cars. Stick to what you're good at. But maybe you're not good at that either. Maybe you're just like Don Lemon, you're just a talking head. The reason that I'm going at this very hard today, and the reason I've been so ired by this, is James has been out of Donut for like 2 years now. And I previously had not seen him do anything towards politics or activism or anything of the like. Okay. He has been going for some kind of like, he's trying to like reach at everything and tap into all these different genres to get clicks. From the sneakerhead stuff, skateboard stuff. I just saw a thing this morning on his, iSpeed or whatever the fuck it's called, where he's talking about the sneakerheads. He's talking about the fit. He's like trying to like jump on the Giga Chad like high test man-to-man shit, and he just doesn't get it because he's not that guy. But he's definitely trying to tap into that. And I don't know if his original followers are buying it. I'll tell you right now, as an original follower of James Pumphrey, I'm not buying it. I don't want your fucking opinion on health and fitness. I don't want your fucking opinion on how to dress. I don't want you going out there and saying that your best fit is your car. It's not my best fit. It's not an outfit for me, James. Because I don't give a fuck about it. If a jacket burns in a fire tomorrow, I don't care about a jacket. It costs me nothing to get another one. If my car has an engine fire and explodes tomorrow, it's a lot of memories going bye-bye. It's a lot of work, blood, sweat, and tears going bye-bye. James, I don't care about sneakers. I don't care about your opinion on sneakers. And therefore, even more, somebody who has spent their entire life in California behind a camera in front of a microphone, I don't care about your opinion on politics, especially when you don't even have the guts to share your opinion. You just retweet, repost shit that other people say. And you did so in, just like this guy, Scotty Fitness, thinking that you were going to get up there and get more views off of it and beat your chest, just like people did after George Floyd was killed. Okay, just like after the George Floyd death. You guys got up there and pounded your chest about it before the body was fucking cold, saying this is murder, this is that. Why don't you shut the fuck up? I don't care about your opinion. You don't have hot, fresh takes on things. James, don't tweet about fucking tyranny and tyrants and tyrannical governments when you've never seen one before. And if you think that this is a tyrannical government, you're a fucking idiot. Because let me tell you, I've seen tyrannical governments. I've seen what those countries look like. I've seen the aftermath of Saddam Hussein's Iraq. I've seen the aftermath, well, the ongoing aftermath of a destroyed Somalia in East Africa from civil war and the multiple tyrants that they've gone through. Seen it. You don't know what tyranny fucking looks like. You've never seen it before. Not out in well, I guess out in California maybe you have, because they're passing another like driving tax. I think they said it was going to be like 35 cents per mile that people drive. How the fuck are you going to enforce that? Oh wait, they do. They have to pass emissions testing and all that shit every year. So they're going to go through your car like a communist and, well, dare I say it, they're going to go through your car like a Nazi and check it. It's just disgusting to see. And people would be like, well, if he's sharing his personal opinion on his... Yeah, if he was sharing his personal opinion, he's sharing stuff on his personal shit, that's fine. That's totally fine. If I'm sharing stuff on my personal Stosh Instagram, which is not connected to Power Horse, cool. If I'm sharing stuff on Power Horse that is supposed to primarily be about car shit, why would I expect people to drop off and not follow me? They don't come here to hear my hot takes on political shit. They come here to hear me crash out about Jim Farley and to hear about cars. The problem here being, James shared stuff on his iSpeed or whatever the hell his brand is, and then reshared that on his personal page. You're doing the same thing that Scotty Fitness guy did, where he doxed a bunch of people. He got upset and had a crash out. I don't believe these are James' actual opinions, because I don't really think that James has a whole lot between his ears to have these opinions. Again, I've never met the guy in person, but like his actions now kind of show it, that he's very self-absorbed, narcissistic, and just trying to get views. dude, it's okay to go work a regular job after you left Donut. It's okay. If you're struggling for money, go work a regular job. Or maybe just work on your content of what you share. Like Finnegan's doing it right now. Freiburger's doing it right now. They have great channels. They have lots of views. They're great people. Okay? But you don't need to like engage in the psyop and try and just scramble. It shows a disconnect and a disloyalty to your fan base. So that's it, really. I don't want to spend too much time on it because I've thought a lot about it. Just a quick segue before we move on. We're talking about the tax out in California. This is actually really big, is that Trump has lifted EPA sanctioning. I don't know if it's a lift or it's just they're not going to enforce it, is what it sounds like. They're not going to enforce diesel emission standards, which is really, really big. A guy was doing the breakdown of it this morning, and he was going through and talking about the thousands and thousands of dollars that you're going to spend replacing failing emissions equipment on your like Duramax and shit like that on your diesel trucks. This is really big. This is really big. This is really good, I think. This is going to make commerce a lot cheaper. Okay? And this is also going to do wonders for the diesel industry. I am for this. I think this is really good. Okay. California has some of the strictest emissions laws. LA and San Francisco are covered in smog. Florida has some of the loosest emission standards. Orlando, Miami, Tampa, Jacksonville. The last time I visited all these places did not have issues with smog. So, I don't know. Beats me. Maybe it's not the cars. Maybe it's not the cars. All right. Let's go here. Let's see. To transition off that's a good thing Trump has done. I really like that. It's a good thing the administration has done. Again, this is not political. That's car related. If you like Trump, great. If you don't like Trump, great. Here's another great thing that this administration has done. There was a rumor, and I think it originally started like as a meme or like just a tweet. Like, it would be so great if they were going to race IndyCar through the streets of Washington, D.C. We'll call it the Freedom 250 to celebrate 250 years of our great republic. And he just signed an executive order. They're going to do an IndyCar race through the streets of Washington, D.C. That's going to be so metal. That's going to be awesome. That's going to be so cool. Again, if you love Trump, great. If you hate Trump, great. But if you don't get excited for like the pure Americana IndyCar, yeah, you're not paying attention to the Epstein files. Dude, get the fuck over it. Like, they were never going to show us anyways. And yeah, I know that there's stuff out, but like, my point is nothing was going to happen. So you can sit there and be upset about that. And you can be excited for the Freedom 250. Like, this, again, this is not a political show. You guys are bombarded with political stuff enough. This is for the guys cruising at midnight, hauling freight, the guys working that fucking 14-hour shift in a taxi cab. Okay, this is for the people who are trying to get away from the social media every 24-hour, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, spewing political propaganda in your fucking face every single day. Freedom 250 is going to be great. IndyCar, very Americana. The only thing that would be more Americana is if it was NASCAR, personally, but NASCAR can't make right turns. I said what I said. Every time they try to do a road course, it is It is horrific. NASCAR can't do right turns. Off that point, to talk more about racing, the Rolex 24. I've been holding off. I actually this was another one I re-recorded a couple times because I was very angry at the time and I did not understand how we got this so fucking wrong. Ford, what are we doing? Ford blew it. Ford had a lead. They had opportunity. During the night, there was a yellow flag due to visibility issues of fog, not smog, in Daytona. Fog. Okay, if you don't know, the Rolex comes at a time where there's a big transition between it was hot for a while, and then for some reason that weekend, it either does one of two things. It rains, piss fucking rains, or it's cold as balls. It's hot during the day, and then it gets cold as balls during the night, and then the next day, it's cold up until about 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, and then it lifts and it goes back to being normal-ish temperature. And it was wild. There was fog. There was fog so bad that they had to put out a yellow flag for like 7 hours. Ford got the opportunity. Ford had the opportunity, blew a transmission. I think they blew an engine seal because it was just pouring out. I have no idea what went wrong there. If you guys sat back and said, hey, save the car for Sebring, I don't know what the fuck you were doing, because there's enough time. Sebring's not until March. You guys have the money. You guys have the power. You guys can fix it before Sebring. Corvette was pushing people around out there. And what was Team GTD Mustang doing? What was Ford doing? You guys lost. You guys only finished 3 cars out there. 3 or 4, and you only finished with 1. I think you had 1 or 2 in GTD, and then you had 2 in GTD Pro. And you only finished with 1 car total. What the fuck were you doing? What the fuck were you doing? Why does the GTD suck dick so bad? The original Ford GT that they used to race in there, that wasn't that bad. We haven't had this bad of mechanical issues. Well, I guess the old GTD back in the 80s was at times plagued with some mechanical issues. But like, we haven't had this big of a fucking issue since the GT40 Mark 1. The GTD back in the 80s did have some issues, but once they got a Cosworth in there, they were pretty good. And then they switched to a Roush V8, supercharged Roush V8, and they had some issues. If you don't know, this isn't the first iteration of the GTD. The GTD was a 1.8 liter, and then they went to like a 2.1 liter Cosworth, twin turbocharged Cosworth that made like close to 800 horsepower or something. It made a crazy amount of horsepower. I don't remember off the top of my head, but it made a lot of horsepower for an inline 4, and they were really, really light. They had crazy aero kits on them so that they could just absolutely fly. I have a model of one around here somewhere, and I have pictures. I don't know where they are. I got to get them framed and put them up. Of these things. They had side dump NASCAR exhaust. Maybe we'll do a whole episode on it. I can't find a lot of information about those cars from back in the day. I'd probably have to go to like Ford and beg to get into their archives to find pictures and info on it. But Corvette was up there pushing people around, sending people into the kitty litter, doing some real hard racing. You guys had a lead, and then you blew it. What were we doing? If you're not willing to wreck the car, and you're just going to cruise the last hour, why even come to race? Just put the car away. Just retire the car. Just say, no, we're done. If you're not going to push hard, don't race. Corvette didn't win either, but they pushed hard. That's the racing I want to see. And I thought Ford was going for this old strategy that they used to do back in the GT days, 2015 to like 2019 or 2020, when they had the GT on the Ford Ganassi racing team, where they would sit in the back at night. They would push really, really hard when the temperature switched and those turbos could really hammer hard, okay, when it was colder. And then as the sun came up, they'd pull back a little bit. And then like the last 2 hours of the race, it would be the hardest racing you've ever seen. And they would just crush. And they would be like sharks smelling blood in the water. It won like 4 years in a row. Giving everybody a run for their money. Do you guys not care? And Jim Farley is up there just like I was chatting out to Farley and the racing team. And I'm like, what are you guys fucking doing? And Jim Farley's still posting stuff, and the racing team's still posting stuff about the supremacy of the Mustang. It's like, are you like Baghdad Bob that's sitting there being like, we are the Iraqi Republican Guard is the best, and we will not be defeated. Saddam's forces are the greatest. As there's American tanks rolling into Baghdad in the background. Like, Jim Farley's a fucking moron. I can't stress that enough. Jim Farley is an idiot. Enough of that. I don't know. What are you going to do if you're not going to race hard? Why are you here? If you're not going to drive hard, why are you here? Just do your part. Just send it. It looked like they had some young drivers in there. Ford, you have a great car. You just need to, shake out the gremlins. You have a great car. You have a great homage back to the 1980 GTD. Just send it. Just you have to get the right person to drive, and I don't think you have the right person to drive. On a separate note, sorry, I was going to move on. Penske Porsche mopped the floor in GTP. So, congratulations to them. The prototype in Europe, I believe it's called the European Hypercar, just mopped the floor with everybody. Wasn't even close. There was a little bit of back and forth, but like one of their cars, I think it was the 6, pitted and dropped all the way to 7th or 8th place, and then in like the last 3 to 5 laps, maybe the last 30 minutes more like, so more than 3 to 5 laps, in the last 30 minutes fought his way all the way to 3rd place. I think they finished 1 and 3. So congratulations. I'm not surprised. Porsche's a really good team. Penske always, Mr. Penske always brings a pretty hard team to the table, and they're very involved in racing. So NASCAR, Indy. I'm not sure if they used to have an F1 team. I don't think so. I think it's only been sports car racing, NASCAR, and Indy. Simon Pagenaud. Sometimes when they need to bring out the heavy hitters, Simon Pagenaud comes off the team from Indy and graces us with his presence. The inspiration for Sacha Baron Cohen's character in Talladega Nights, which Simon Pagenaud to this day still doesn't see the resemblance of. But I remember it was a couple of years back, Ilya Castaneves and Simon Pagenaud like tag teamed. They were the two ringers for the last 2 shifts of drivers at the very end of the Rolex, and they absolutely slayed. And they were referencing Ilya Castaneves and Simon Pagenaud's run to greatness that year with Porsche Penske, and that was the final year Ganassi had a team, I think. Ganassi came back at the last second to do literally like weeks before the Rolex, and this was a couple years back. And I was so pumped. I thought they were going to get it. I think they were driving Acuras. So pumped, thought they were going to get it. I was like, it was either Acuras or Caddies. And I was like, this is locked. I was like, I'm sorry, but I love Penske. I love Simon Pagenaud. I love Ilio Castroneves. But I like Team Ganassi because that was the old Ford Ganassi GT team, and they pulled it out of nowhere at the last second, got drivers at the last second. They charged hard, and they were fighting all night long, and they just didn't have. They were really close. They just didn't have it. But they made a great run. I think they finished like third or fourth. Just disappointing. But congratulations to Penske Porsche. Great job. We're going to end today by talking about some positives. I know I crash out a lot. I know I crash out on Jim Farley. I crash out on Ford. I've been crashing out on James Pumphrey. We're going to end with something positive. More information, like an actual gameplay trailer for Forza Horizon 6, has been released. We saw a Gundam. That's like the big one in there, right? There's a Gundam in there. So everybody was going crazy over Gundam. I think the biggest and coolest thing that is transitioned from the past like 3 Horizons. In the past 3 Horizons, you were this celebrity driver who's been to all the previous. Horizon is like this Olympics-style rotating, or FIFA Olympics style rotating racing event. And it's like the motorsports of the Olympics of motorsports type concept, right? That they do, and each iteration hosts a different country, or each iteration a different country and location hosts, right? In this made up fantastical world of Forza Horizon. In the last 3 iterations, you were a superstar. You'd been at the previous, it was like your character carried over from the previous Horizons. And in this Forza, in 6, you are going to start as a tourist, just in Japan. You get a shitty car. You're going to have to claw your way to the top. One of my biggest complaints for previous Forza Horizon games is I had brought 5 home, set up my Xbox, played it for about 30 minutes, had to disappear. I think I went to drill for the weekend. Came home like Monday morning. My roommates playing it had unlocked every single Ford car, found all the barn finds, and I'm sitting there going, dude, what the fuck? Why did you do that on my account? No, I don't get to find them? Like, unlocked all the upgrades for every car. I'm like, bro, what the hell? This is going to be different. This is also going to support. It's going to be, I'm very excited for it. It's going to be like how the car community and culture and the scene used to be. There's going to be car meets. Like actual just, you can go and talk to other players and look at other players' cars and just enjoy them. You can go over to a friend's garage, kind of like GTA, and you can just hang out at a friend's garage. I think that's going to be really, really cool. Okay? I think that's... People say that Forza Horizon and GTA have very negatively influenced the car scene. I don't disagree with that. I think they have. I think a lot of the takeover shit, I think a lot of the hooliganism, I think a lot of the bad activities that we have seen in real life have probably come from movies like Fast and Furious, games like Forza, games like GTA. I think that there's a really, really good supporting evidence for that. This is a step in the right direction of taking away from promoting that type of behavior. When I was younger, it used to be a thing where they were like, "Oh, don't let your kids play GTA because then that'll turn like saying that like Call of Duty creates like school shooters or shit like that." Like, not exactly, but then also it's hard to say no. Kids aren't imitating what they see in video games and then doing it out in real life, because in GTA you just respawn. Out here in the real world, and they try to go run from cops, and you either go into jail and it's on the news and everybody sees that, or you die in a fiery crash. Both of which are not good. I think 6 is going to be better. You're going to have your own garage. It looks very aesthetically pleasing. I know that there's some controversy that there's a lot of people saying like, oh, it should all be city. Japan's not all city. So no. If you like a game like that, go play The Crew. People have been saying, oh, it's been too off-road and like rally for the past couple. Yeah, the Mexico one was pretty, a lot of country road driving. There wasn't a lot of city with it. I don't hate that at all. I love country driving. I love the opportunity for rally cars. I'm not a big off-road or dirt driver, but I think this is going to be good. I think the only people out there screaming for, we want it to be all city, are people who are like that car scene that's taken over the car scene, who want to do donuts in intersections, who are not the people who we want to be catering to. So I think the new 6 is going to be very good. I am excited. In one of the recordings I did talk about, and this is part of the reason I re-recorded this, I will be happy if the 78 King Cobra 2 is in there, because in previous games it hasn't been. It's on and off been in there. It needs to be in there. The SVO will undoubtedly be in there. I wish another 4i would be in there in addition to the SVO, but I don't think we're going to get it. The 93 Ford Taurus show, I hope is going to be in there. And then there was one more I really wanted in there. Oh, the 95 SVT Cobra R. I hope all 3 of the Cobra Rs are in there. And then obviously every iteration of all the Cosworth cars. So your RS500, your OG Escort, which I think was the S200 or something, or R200. The Cortina, the Anglia, those are great cars. I hope those are in there. Every iteration of all the Cosworth rally cars, all the way up to the the RS2000, and obviously the Sierra RS500. What was that last one with the whale tail? I don't remember what that one was. I think that was just the Cosworth Escort Cosworth, like the 90-something Escort Cosworth. Or Cosworth Escort. But I'm excited for it. I'm not excited to see the GTD or any of the new stuff in there. In fact, though, the GTD, the Roush GTD was in the 80s one, was in Motorsport. They added it, which was really, really cool. I hope they add it in here too. That'd be really, really cool. It's a cool car. It's an insane car. But yeah, that's I think it looks really good. And then of course the ending, they had a Gundam in there. I don't know how the Gundam's gonna play in, but I don't give a fuck. They were dropping cars out of C-130s in 5. I don't give a shit. They could do whatever. You know, they've gone a little off the rails with some of the Forza stuff. So this really doesn't bother me. Like, send it. Let it happen. I just hope they don't do any stupid retarded Lego collabs, because that shit was dumb as fuck. I hated seeing people drive around in them. If I could be in a lobby that just didn't have them, that would be fucking awesome. I just think they looked stupid. But anywho, it looks great, sounds great. I'm really excited. Game is set to come out in May. I think this is going to be very good for the culture. I'm very excited also because I get to live out my fantasy of switching ridiculous engines into Fox bodies that I know I will never do in real life. Very excited for it. So, everybody stay frosty out there. Thanks for stopping by the garage.